Hello, everyone. Today we are doing episode 8 of Sync In Sessions, and we are joined by the lovely Rachel King. And today we're going to be chatting about healing the divine feminine and what that looks like, what that means on a personal context, on a collective context, and just how can we embrace the healing of what this all means and just live our best lives and come into that divine union within us internally. Hot tea. Okay. Hey Rachel, so just request to join, my honey. There we go. It's such a beautiful day today. That's why I'm sitting outside under the blue skies. Hey!
Oh, oh, it looks so lovely and summery
Yeah, it's so warm today. I'm just loving it.
too. I'm loving this weather so much. Although I just got this beautiful coat and I was so excited to wear it, but the last few days because it's too hot. But the day
Maybe
will.
more. Yeah, it always happens. It always happens like that. So yay, welcome to Thinking Sessions. It's so wonderful to have you here. And I wondered if you wanted to just give yourself a quick introduction to all of my followers who maybe don't know you.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm Rachel, and I've been a space holder for probably the last 2 to 3. Maybe I was holding space before then, before it was space holder. Little 5-year-old Rachel was running around little sacred spots without knowing. But I hold space through dance mostly, and I've worked a lot in the fertility awareness world for a while, and I worked with a femtech company for about 3 years, and I got to learn a lot about the woman's body, and I got just so excited about our inner seasons. I live by that daily. And I'm also a photographer, but more in a therapeutic sense. So I do photo shoots structured by the divine feminine archetypes. So there's space to tap into all of our magic ways of expressing ourselves and
I
learning
love
about. It's so much fun. It's so much fun. So, yeah, my facilitating work is under the goddess codes. I call them the goddess codes, and I do it about once a month. It's like a women's temple, um, and also sometimes moon movement, where it's basically like a dance. You're just dancing in connection to where the moon is.
beautiful, beautiful. I love that. And I'm so excited to get stuck in onto all these juicy themes because there's so much that we can go into. And I wanted to just like from your personal belief or like a definition, what does the divine feminine kind of mean to you and how that's like expressed within our world?
What does the divine feminine mean to me? I think it means like remembering our divinity and our wisdom, and remembering that all the answers are within us, and then actually like utilizing them and engaging with them. To me, that is, yeah, that's one of the perspectives I have, is you.
Mm, mm. Yeah, I really see it like what you're saying about that internal compass. That for me also has been such a huge reclamation through healing my divine feminine energy. And I think that has a lot to do with what you said about body wisdom, and like knowing that we've been so conditioned to seek answers outside of ourselves and outside of our frame of context. And that's, knowledge is always in teachers and it's in schools and it's in fat books, and you can't learn anywhere else, and you have to get a university degree and la 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 la. Like these are all these structures of formal education within our world, and for me, one of the biggest understandings of healing my divine feminine energy is also that knowing that once I clear blocks within my body, like so much wisdom can be accessed through that new light that is pouring into my system, and in, like you said, in connection to the cycles and the seasons that our bodies as feminine women go through, and I think there's so much wisdom and intuitive knowledge that comes to me on like a daily, monthly, weekly basis, just through observing and being in touch with my body. And I think that is like this huge reclamation of the divine feminine, is like, how can we trust our internal source of wisdom and internal source of knowing, in rather than the external, like maybe we can use the external as a reference and confirmation, but how can we use that internal source to like guide us directly?
Yes. Oh, I love that. And I think, um, connecting with our cycles and becoming aware of all these tools that we have and the knowledge that we have, in turn, we're hearing that inner voice louder and louder. And so it's easier to listen into that, our divine feminine essence, and what intuition is saying. Yeah. So I think that's also the weaving of the two, learning how to balance.
Mm-mm. And it is so much about, like, there's so many pillars that we can even touch on. There's the body, and there's body reclamation, there's sexual reclamation, there's creative reclamation, there's self-expression reclamation. There's like all these different like aspects that we can look at this within, and I think people often get misperceive like what healing the divine feminine is, because it's not about like disregarding our current world structures. Like obviously they're very necessary in some ways, but it's about understanding that we live in a very heteronormative, masculine dominated society. And so in order to come back into energetic homeostasis within our body, we need to engage with divine feminine and engage with these beautiful practices and rituals and cycles within us that can help balance that out, because otherwise we're going to get so stuck in our head. And like before I started doing this work, I spoke about it the other day, like I used to have so much anxiety just because of how much of my awareness was in my mind, and so slowly through these feminine based body practices, I've been able to move that self-awareness deeper and deeper into my heart, into my body, and into my womb space. And so that has really helped to shift so much overthinking and so much mental confusion, just through the act of being present.
Oh my word, yes. Sure, that was like me last week actually, because week before my cycle, and I often my mind is going like extra. No, actually, I'm supposed to start like my cycle today. I'm supposed to start,
Okay.
but the days leading up to it, my mind can feel a bit messy, and I just decided to, put my hand on my womb and just that's it, and just the simplicity of that act and just noticing what comes up in that moment is always surprises me. It's like my mind, it's like so complicated, but I have to do this to help me with this and this and blah, 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 blah. And then it's like, oh, okay. I just need to breathe right here with
Mm,
my it's all gonna be okay.
yeah. And
Mm,
sometimes like the medicine we need is actually so much more simple than we realize, you know? And like, yeah, the simplicity of nature is like, it's so grounded and it's so down to earth that we often forget that like there are so many simple things that we can do to change our mindset, to change how we feel. But we always like seek those like complex and like I need to understand and like, and then that's the medicine again, you know, like trying to psychologically figure it all out, you know.
Yeah, totally, totally. The simplicity of nature, breath, and body, it just constantly blows my mind coming back to those things. And
Mm,
yeah, I've been feeling that extra pull at the moment to just literally go into nature and just
same, same.
feeling it so.
Yeah. Yeah, because the Mother Earth, she is like she's our compass on such a deep level. And if we're not connected to her, we can get so lost in this like human construct of what it means to be human, you know, and we forget like that we all come from the earth and Mother Earth is our divine mother, you know, she is our original mother. And so healing in conjunction with her is gonna, I believe, like efficiently almost speed up the process of your own personal healing and personal embodiment journey because you have her support. Whereas if you're trying to do it alone, and I say that alone because we're never really alone, we have so many spirit guides and angels and all these non-physical entities looking after us. But if we try to like heal alone versus in conjunction with other methodologies, it just happens so much on a faster level. I don't know if you've noticed that.
Oh, totally. And again, you just saying that is such a good reminder. And I just love that line, like Mother Earth is your compass. I just think that's so
Mm,
beautiful. I think I've heard those words together before. And yeah, it's like whenever you're feeling lost, like the compass is right there, I guess. You know, just go take your shoes off and go stand on the earth. Um, but I have definitely found being in nature, barefoot, moving my body, and just noticing the intricate details and the vast space of things, it just resets my nervous system. It's like
mm,
it gives me everything I need.
yeah, totally,
It does.
totally. And that's really, I think, also what this like connecting with your feminine energy is about, embracing those non-rational ways of healing, you know, those non-rational ways of like doing things. And like, you know, if you're stressed out, of course, going to nature may not seem like the most productive thing to do, but actually, that's like is the most productive thing to do, you know? Because there's no ways you're going to be able to recenter yourself through thinking, you know? And so it's really all about bringing it back to the body and remembering that our body is our guide, and our body is where things change and morph and shift, you know. And so to think that we can like outthink our own stress is like, it puts too much pressure on the human mind, you know.
Totally. Totally. The body's so wise, and it's so funny how we can easily forget that, you know.
mm, mm. And so what are your some of your favorite practices to do, whether it's in nature or on your own or wherever, like some of your favorite practices to connect to your divine feminine energy?
Hmm. Um, I have a few, but I mean, always dancing. When there's music and I'm able to tap into just flowing, it it it's like this instant moment of coming back into feeling my fluidity and my power and my divine feminine power. Um, but also recently I've been remembering like essential oils and massage and how that really
Mm,
meets my divine feminine. And in the last 2 weeks, actually, I've had an even deeper desire to truly incorporate a daily type of pleasure practice. I
mm,
realized doing like meditation and like movement, but like and I enjoy them, but there wasn't like that the clear intention of pleasure. And
Mm,
so that's something that I'm like recently wanting to do on the daily, and I have for the last 2 weeks, and it's been amazing. Just putting aside the time to have a pleasure practice, and that can be
mm,
different.
mm,
Like pleasure could be like, running around barefoot on the beach, or it could be like breast massage with beautiful oils, or there's no box for it really, you know. So those are
totally,
that I enjoy.
totally, totally. And how do you think, just as women, how would you almost like speak about how pleasure really like nourishes our body? It's like the feminine body of like needs pleasure. It's like you drink
Yeah,
your tea, you eat your breakfast, and then you need your pleasure, and it's like we can't run on empty pleasure. Like we can't run on empty hydration, we can't run on empty fuel, we can't run on empty pleasure. And that's really also something I've learned through my own like self-sabotaging and my own just like almost uh like I know I need pleasure, but then only when I get to like so empty, do I actually remind myself, like, why have you not been filling up your cup this whole time?
it's so easy to forget. I'm the exact same in that way. It was like I had to come to this point of the bottom of the barrel and been like,
Mm,
hey, come on, remember who you are. um and I think that I like what you're saying about how we are pleasure beings as the feminine. And
mm,
um, I mean, like, yeah, we are the creatrix. We are like a portal to the divine. And if we're not like creating and like feeling that, I think we kind of forget who we are. Like, it's like,
mm,
what's, why am I? And I think that like panic of forgetting who you are kind of comes in when you're not yeah, feeling into your pleasure and your creativity, that energy, because it's essentially who we are, and it's
mm-hmm.
when we're not engaging with it, it can feel weird, out of sorts. I don't know if you feel that way.
Totally, totally. And it's almost like you forget what's missing. And
Yes.
then you're like, oh, wait, oh, right, oh, now I remember. And I think that's like, even though, like, so I've done the work for so long and I've managed to heal so much trauma and like limiting beliefs within my body, but that doesn't mean that I don't still like on an occasional basis get confronted with like these old outdated belief systems that are clearly there from patriarchy. Like recently I've been trying to look for a job, right? And so that's been like very mental, very masculine focused. And so because none of the efforts that I have in my personal view have been successful, like I keep on being like, no, only when you get the thing can you give yourself the pleasure. And I think that's like, it's such a outdated patriarchal belief that we only get to have a reward, pleasure is the reward for a hard day's work, or it's an achievement, or it's like you're selfish or you're frivolous for like engaging with pleasure before you've achieved the goal, before you've ticked the box, or before you've done this or that. And it's like I still have that come up for me, and it's like it's such a beautiful just
Mm.
realization to like do a self check, and to like tap back in with the heart and be like, right, is this actually what I believe, or is this some old outdated societal conditioned belief that exists within my mind and body?
Yeah, and I think um, it'll that old dated belief will just slowly start to fade away.
mm, mm,
Time. And I think it's amazing that you're aware that and that you're checking in and realizing that that's not yours.
mm,
Um,
mm,
and
mm.
I'm just reclaiming that, like, I am pleasure. I deserve pleasure. I think that's amazing. Um,
Mm,
and also, I was realizing I was trying to have compassion for myself when I got to the bottom of the barrel, like a couple of weeks ago,
yeah.
in terms of pleasure. And I was realizing that pleasure go through seasons as well. Different, like we go through, as women, our inner seasons. I think pleasure also has its seasons, and how we perceive it and how we experience it. And just remembering that, I felt more compassion for myself in the moment. Yeah. Mm.
Totally, totally. And even I think just also it's like I think it's a symptom of winter, you know, it's like that. Like I'm just so less likely to do self massage or be naked or like connect with myself in that in between stage between bathing and like getting dressed. That's always like my favorite time for like self connection, because you're already naked and you know, like you may as well just take advantage of that time. But I notice so much more like in winter, and I even said this to my partner last year. I was like, I hate winter. We like don't have sex as much, you know, or like I hate winter. Like I don't like want to be naked as much, and I just love being naked, you know. And so I think it's like, how do we like make things easier for ourselves, you know? Like I got an electric blanket, and like that just like changes the game, you know. And just like small little things that we can do to like up our little like pleasure throughout the day, because it doesn't have to be like one big self pleasure thing, you know. It can be like small little things throughout the day. And I think when we empower people to connect with that, to women especially, you know, it doesn't have to be this daunting, overwhelming thing to do, you know.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the more you realize that, the more easy it is to incorporate it, and it just becomes more natural as well. It's all
mm,
a process, a journey as well.
totally, totally. And especially like our wombs really want to receive, you know. That's their energetic capacity is to receive. And so I think we always forget that if we're not able to receive from ourselves, how are we going to be able to receive from the rest of the world, you know?
Mm.
And I think part of the reclaiming the divine feminine is all about that ability to learn how to receive your own love, you know, learning how to receive your own pleasure, learning how to receive, um, yeah, your own self-compassion as like the foundation of like your life, you know. And then once you've been able to receive from self, then you can start to receive from others, then you can start to ask for help, then you can start to um yeah,
Mm.
like just receive from life itself and really recharge your manifestations in that way. And
Yeah.
I know I used to just struggle so much with asking for help until I started this healing journey, you know, until I started to actually learn what it meant to take care of myself. And I think that is also like on the foundation level of healing the divine feminine. It's like, what do we need, you know, because we didn't have parents who, unfortunately, you know, mindfulness is only about like 10 years old in the mainstream world, maybe a little bit more. And so we didn't have parents that asked us, like, what are your needs? What do you need to feel safer in this moment? What do you need to feel better, you know? And so it's like we need to reclaim that healing by being able to ask ourselves that, you know, and therefore act and act from that selfish place of self-love, you know, because when we act from that place, it's not actually selfish, you know. It comes from self-compassion, you know. And so I think there's also so much brainwashing from the patriarchy around being selfish, you know. And so now women are so less likely to be selfish because they see it as this negative thing, when actually I'm like, bitch, you deserve to be selfish, you know. Like you should be selfish. I want you to be selfish.
Yes, it's like, filling up your cup so that you can actually overflow to give people. It's like, how are you gonna go out and give yourself and flow with others when your cup's empty? It's like you have to fill your cup to flow.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm. Totally. I would love to to chat about your your skills in tarot and how you see tarot and like all these beautiful witchy kind of modalities of connecting back to the self, because another journey of healing the divine feminine, like I said, is moving from that rational understanding to trusting more in the unseen, in the unconscious, in the non-rational and non-linear. And so I'd really love to hear your perspective around that as a
Yeah,
tool for discovery.
yeah, tarot is so beautiful. I love tarot. It is always with oracle cards, it's usually a little bit more gentle. Tarot can sometimes just cut through the bullshit and you hear things you don't really want to hear. But what it's so true what you say. It's been a really big tool in connecting to my intuition, like massively. And to me, I see tarot as like a bodybuilder would see like a weight, but for your intuition. So
Oh,
like
cool. I
every
love
time
that.
tarot, it's like you're exercising your intuitive muscle, and it gets stronger and stronger every time. And like half the time I'm doing tarot, I'm just literally, I don't know what I'm saying when I'm reading. It's like I'm just trusting what I'm seeing, what's coming up, and it's also remembering like your authentic way of taking intuitive notes. So like when I see tarot card, it's like what color stands out to me first, or what does a mountain mean to me? What do I think that expression is? And it's like when you're listening to your authentic intuition on it, it's it's like it's so much easier to bring the message through. And you got to try, because even though I sound like I'm talking nonsense, the person will be like, yes, exactly, and all I did was just listen to and pick up what I'm noticing and what I'm sensing. And
Mm,
obviously remembering the basic knowledge of tarot, but at the same time, that's one aspect of tarot. The other aspect is really your intuition. and,
mm,
and like I said, you've got to be gentle with yourself, and compassionate with yourself, because it's a process. You could be starting with a very unused muscle, and just keep using it and trusting. It's like, I feel like that this color means this, and just trust it, and it gets
mm,
easier. Trust your voice more and more and more and more. Do you
totally.
in tarot as well?
I haven't, I've started to learn, but I haven't like dived deep into it yet. But I have like a deck, so I'm just kind of waiting for that moment once I dive like fully in, because I've loved oracle cards for so long, so I just want to take it to that next level. And I always used to watch like tarot readings on YouTube and stuff. Like I always loved it. So
I
um
still so much. I still feel like I'm a complete baby at it, but
yeah,
it's exciting,
yeah.
getting back and just seeing what's coming through.
Yeah, totally. And so I wanna ask you if you have any tips for um a woman who's kind of just starting out on her spiritual healing journey and is learning to trust her intuition, but is still kind of having those like self-doubt moments, or maybe she's not sure whether something's coming from her ego mind or her intuitive mind. And yeah, I just wanted to know if you had any tips for someone in that space.
Hmm. I'm just thinking back to myself and what I felt like I needed. I think, I mean, you really got to trust. Difficult, but you really got to trust yourself through it, and know that it's a journey and that you can't do anything wrong. You're not going to do anything wrong. If you have a good heart, and you're not going to do anything wrong, so follow what feel what you're feeling in your gut. Like if you want to learn something through a specific lens, then if you're feeling that pull in your body, in your gut, then follow it, and know that you're supported in so many ways, and still keep asking questions. Still keep asking questions. Don't assume that the knowledge you hear is everything and the law. Um, and trust yourself. And if you want to change what you believe in, change what you believe in. If you want to, yeah, if you learn that what you always enjoyed doing, you actually don't, that's okay. It's a journey, it's a process, and it was part of the process. And yeah, you supported. Don't worry about it. It's all going to be okay. I think I would want, I would have wanted someone to tell me when I
Yeah,
was on a journey. Yeah.
totally. Because it can feel confusing, because we're not, these are skills that are like so critical for life, but we're not taught them in school, and I use my intuition on the daily basis, like mathematics on the other hand, you know. Like, okay, no, I know maths is so important, but like I honestly see them on the same level of importance. They're almost like the right and left brain equivalents of each other, and I think it's so important that we learn to trust our intuition, because often we can almost like foresee difficult situations or challenging situations before they even happen, and so we can actually start to uh, either prepare ourselves for a difficult time or be able to have the foresight to change course, or to make a different decision, or like reach out to someone who, like our ego is telling us not to, but our intuition is like, I think they may be struggling, or whatever the context of the situation is, and I think intuition, it's like that body-based response. And so it really is about cultivating, like you said, that self-trust, like how can I just really trust what is coming up, and even if it's not someone else's truth, how can I embody it as my truth, and if you don't like what you hear, or you don't like what you see, like you said, like we can always change our belief systems, we can always create a new perspective. It just takes that ability to be flexible and to be malleable with what's coming up for us and what's being shown to us.
Totally. And like what you were saying, asking for help and trusting who you're asking for help in the moment as well.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, because so often, I mean, even in the past, looking back, asking for help never crossed my mind. It just wasn't out of my mind to think to ask for help. Uh,
Mm.
and yeah, engaging with that has been very beneficial for me the older I get.
Totally. Totally, me too. And I think it's because the reason it's so beneficial and nourishing is because we grew up in a world that tells women, like, don't you dare rely on anyone else. Like, you need to be strong, you need to be independent, you need to be your own boss, bitch, whatever. Like,
Yeah,
like hustle, 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 like you can do it. And it's like, I actually want to be asked for help. Like, I actually want that support. Like, and I guess I used to see asking for help as a weakness, and that was also like these old constructed belief systems in my mind that weren't placed there organically, and so when we can ask for help, we can actually elevate our learning, first of all, so much quicker, because we connecting with someone who may be more experienced in any sort of field that we're seeking guidance within. And also we can start to see ourselves on through that mirror of that other person, whether it's a mentor, a therapist, a teacher, a friend, or whoever, a parent, guardian, whoever that may be. You can start to see yourself reflected. And what has been honestly the most healing thing for me is to be able to ask for help and receive it, like not be that little girl that asks for help and doesn't get her needs met, but like be that woman who asks for help and trusts her community to show up, trusts her community to be there for her, and trusts her community to see the power in vulnerability, the power in asking for help, you know, because we've been so conditioned, like I said, to believe that asking for help is weakness, you know. And so I'm really all about, I don't know where the fuck that comes from. Like, where does that even come from, you know? It's like we live in
And it's
community and we
also,
all humans here together. Like, obviously we're meant to like do shit together, you know? And healing is one of them.
yeah, and also like remembering our, I was just reflecting now while you were speaking. It was like, I wonder if asking for help is a part of like the inner masculine coming, stepping up for us and holding space. But I think it's also the inner masculine remembering his connections and being able to like, no, have support here. It'll be easier. Just, you know, the day I was trying to figure out some kind of technical thing on Instagram. On, ooh, I love Instagram.
No, you back, you back.
I was trying to um technical thing on Instagram, and I was just telling my boyfriend, I was like, how the hell am I supposed to do this? This is so confusing. Like, I was expecting like I'm gonna have to take a whole hour to like Google everything, like step by step what to do. And he was like, don't you have any friends who work who are social media marketers? Why don't you just ask them? I was like, oh right, like I don't have to go do this by myself and Google everything and figure it
Mm,
out. Like there are people who have the knowledge. Just, you know, remember that connection. So that was just a
mm,
moment
mm,
of
mm.
realizing that.
Yeah, and it could be the simplest thing, like you said, figuring something out on Instagram, to like some complex, like psychological drama that you're going through, you know, and like whatever it may be, there's always someone out there who has gone through the same thing, or who is a professional who can give you grounded, solid advice on how to take yourself forward, you know. And like I've always felt like the best people to ask for help are the people who almost guide you back to yourself rather than trying to straight up give you the answer, you know?
Yes, exactly. Mm.
And I'm sure you've seen that also within like women's circles and holding space, is that there's so much more healing and power that can take place within our self-reclamation, within healing within community, you know, and healing within circle, and healing within like those communal spaces where we get to witness ourselves and be vulnerable, but also have that same connection from others and allow others to see us and witness us.
Yes, and like noticing what, yeah, other people naturally are bringing up stuff for you by them being themselves. And you know, we're all helping each other sometimes unintentionally. It's just because we're being ourselves and needed
Mm,
needed to be around that person for them to say that thing to shift whatever within us. And that's why I'm sure you've noticed, like in the circles, it's like um the we're holding the space, but so much magic is happening so naturally, you know. It's
mm,
people are holding space for each other without them knowing sometimes.
mm. Totally, totally. And just like the reflections that like happen and the intuitive connections. And yeah, it's so beautiful to be able to witness that, especially for women who've never done those processes before, who've never been in ceremony before. And it's like so deeply humbling. And I'm sure you feel this as well. It's like this service chose me, you know, like I didn't really choose to like do this. It just kind of found me and it happened, and now I'm doing it and it's great.
Amazing. It looks good on you, Josie.
Oh, thank you, sweetheart. Thank you. And now I just want to wrap us up and just quickly talk about your sync-in sessions, and I mean your photography sessions, what do you call them?
Sacred sessions.
Sacred sessions. Sorry, I got a little bit confused. Sacred sessions, yes, I would love to speak about that, because I just love everything that you're doing with that, and like empowering women in their confidence, and like helping every woman to find their authentic expression. And yeah, I would love you to speak about that, and like how, and the archetypes, and how archetypes can embodying archetypes can facilitate that deeper connection to self and to divinity and to, yeah, just self-remembrance.
Mm. Yeah, so with Sacred Sessions, it's a photo shoot structured by the Divine Feminine archetypes. And what happens is that before the shoot, we meet up on a call and we tap into all the archetypes. And usually each woman chooses three, and it's such a beautiful process every time, just picking up what person what they feel connected to. And even if you're unsure of what archetypes are or what they really mean, I describe it all like in the video, and we tap into, like, for example, the wild woman is an aspect of who we are. And you can, if you're feeling the call to like tap into that part of yourself, then we structure that in the photo shoot. So um, it's usually that wild woman or the inner child or like the priestess type. These are all aspects of who we are, and it's really like remembering our holistic nature and knowing that, you know, the wild woman or the inner child or the priestess has never left us. They've always been within us, and it's like they're rising to you now to help unlock parts of yourself. And it's such a beautiful process to observe and witness. And once you've chosen the archetypes, we go on a like meditative journey where you connect with them, and then what comes up in the meditative journey, we incorporate that into the shoot. And so like maybe you see your inner child in a very specific way, and it never fails to blow me away at how each person, even though they've chosen the same archetypes, their inner child looks so different to one
Mm,
another, so specific, and it's so beautiful. Even the wild woman and things like that. I find the wild woman is a big one, where women are either feeling very ready and like just want to jump into that part of themselves, or they're feeling a pull but they're very unsure. But the embodiments in the photo shoot and dressing up and like being her in the photo shoot really helps activate that part of you, and you feel become more confident in it. But you know, when you engage with these parts of yourself, you're engaging with them at the time that you need to, and it's not going to come up if you're not ready for it yet. So yeah, I just hold you through the process, and we just play and have a lot of fun. It's yeah, it's a lot of fun to remember all of who you are.
so beautiful, so beautiful. I love everything you've just said as well, and like allowing people that space to step into their confidence is also such a magic gift to be able to facilitate, and it's so beautiful that you do that. And um yeah, I'm just waiting. I'm definitely going to do one with you probably towards the end of the year, so that's going to be super fun.
So
Yeah, definitely. I also like dressing up is so fucking healing. Like I've always found dressing and expressing myself, and I've always been a very like expressive dresser, very lots of colors, patterns, like very vibrant. And I often when I was younger felt like quite judged by that because I would obviously like always stand out, and I would like always be the most eccentric person at the party or whatever, or like dressed, you know. And I started to realize like that's actually my superpower, and like I actually like standing out even though it's like unintentional, you know, because like who the fuck wants to fit in when you can stand out, you know. And
do you have
um
in your chart?
pardon?
I wonder if you have any Leo in your chart.
I do. I think my Venus is Leo. I think I have my Venus in Leo.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, I think that's what that is.
Yeah, Leo just
Yeah.
wants to express through in dramatic ways, and that is in Venus, which is your feminine energy. So
Mm, I love that. I love that. Thank you for explaining that. Yeah, and I think it's like don't take yourself so seriously, you know, like one day, like ugh, this is another remnant from patriarchies is like you choose an identity and this is who you are throughout your whole life. And it's like, no, 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 no. Like stop. That is so boring, you know. And it's like we get to, through, like I was saying, through your sacred sessions, like we get to embody different aspects of who we are throughout our lives, you know. And like, you know, that can also be like one each day, you know. You can embody a different part of who you are every single day through the way that you dress, through the way that you do your makeup, or whether you choose not to wear makeup, or like whatever, you know, like whether you want to dress like however, you know. And so I think that's really beautiful that we can give ourselves that opportunity to like just play with our identity and allow it to become more fluid, rather than like these structured like
Mm.
boxes of like, this is who you are and you must be this for the rest of your life. And it's like, no, 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 we're fucking with that now.
Oh, I love it. It's so liberating to remember that. And I think it's, yeah, I love your colors and your expression. Yeah.
Oh, thank you, sweetheart. Likewise, likewise. The wild woman in me recognizes the wild woman in you. And one more question. What? How would you, if a woman wants to get more in touch with her wild woman, like how can she start that journey?
Okay, well, I immediately think of the cervix because that is like the wild woman portal. And the
Mm,
cervix is top of is that point like at the back of your womb. And there's lots of ways to connect with it and activate it, but I would, follow your intuition on how you want to do that. But also like really connecting with your root chakra. So like when you dance,
mm.
really, and guess you are naturally connecting with your cervix then, but like really moving your hips, so like even like twerking, it's like I feel like that's like activating the wild woman energy, and there's like no turning back, like once once that's activated. And just like, remembering to take your shoes off and like shaking when it, like when you feel like you're doing more of like animalistic things in your body. I feel like your body remembers and awakens that wild woman energy. And it's like once you've unlocked, it's like that wild woman will naturally just start to unfurl. I think it's quite a natural process, but it can feel wild, but it's, yeah, it's all part of the journey. It's exciting. It's a part of who you are. So
Totally.
yeah, some of the things, and also just like letting your hair do its thing, or like sometimes you want to wear something wild or wear wild makeup, and expressing that physically can help you remember that part of yourself as well, I think.
Totally, totally. And I think it's just like not letting your brain overanalyze itself all the time, so that you're just being, rather than like always thinking like, am I right, am I perfect, am I like you know. And it's like, no, we need to smash all those barriers, smash all those boxes, stop limiting yourself, and just like be your beautiful, unique, crazy, weird, wonderful self, you know. And that's going to be obviously different for every person. um
Mm.
but the more we can embrace that weird, wonderful, childlike innocence to just explore these dark themes, you know, and explore our eroticism and explore our self-expression, and like you say, get more primal with the way you move your body, you know, and like explore weird things that may feel uncomfortable at first, but the more you practice and the more you do something, the more naturalized it becomes, you know. And the more, yeah, you just feel confident to share that wildness with others, you know. And maybe you're gonna start your journey as like a secret wild woman, and that's totally okay. Like we've all been there, you know, we've all been there. But when you feel confident enough to share that with others, it's like such a huge permission slip for women around you. And that's just like the biggest, I think, takeaway of the wild woman, is that permission slip.
She's intoxicating. It's like once, well, for me, I'm in that space now where the wild woman doesn't trigger me. I think in the past I would have been like, whoa, like well, what's happening here? But there was always a natural pull, and it's like she's definitely calls us. And it's like once you've heard her, once you've felt her, it's like there's no turning back, you know. For me anyways, that's how I feel.
Totally. I feel the same. Like I remember when I was 9 years old, my parents went to a teacher parent conference, and the teacher was like, your daughter is wild. Like, she's wild. My parents were like, okay, like, what's this mean? You know? And like, I was a crazy child. Like, I was wild. And like, that's why I always struggled in school, because the mainstream education system was too constricting for that wild woman archetype, that I almost felt like I was like, yeah, like my inner child reclaimed that on such a deep level. And I lost it for a little bit. So really, my late teens, early 20s have really been about like remembering that wildness. And because I always used to feel so much shame for being a very expressive person, or having a loud voice, or wanting to like lead or create or facilitate, and it's like that remembrance has been so sacred to me, because it's like reminded me like, oh yeah, I was wild at 9 years old. Like my grade 3 teacher told my parents that, and like that's beautiful reflection, and like maybe when I was younger I would have felt ashamed at that, but like no, I actually celebrate that, and I celebrate my 9-year-old self for being wild.
Incredible. I love that you've been able to come back and hold space for her, and like I love that you let yourself be wild at 9, and that you that's
I don't
amazing.
think I let myself. I think it just was,
Yeah,
I
this
just
was.
was. Yeah.
Mm.
Oh my gosh, our daughters are probably going to be like 10 times crazier than we were.
I was just, someone told me your daughter's wild. Oh, thank you.
Literally, like, thank you. She takes after her mother. Oh, Rachel, thank you so much for such a beautiful conversation. It's really been wonderful to connect with you and hear your wisdom and teachings and sharings. So thank you for being here.
Thank you, Josie. I'm so grateful to be here. I loved chatting to you. It's yeah. Thank you. Thank you for you, and thank you for being.
Oh, thank you for you, sister. We will definitely connect soon. I think hosting a circle together is also in the books for sure.
Definitely, and wild women dancing somewhere in the wild one day.
For sure. For sure. Bye, my honey. Much love. Thank you.